This portion of Lee Pitts Live is brought to you by Hodges University, educating the leaders of our community for over 20 years.
Welcome back, Southwest Florida. Okay, I'm all smiles and I'm having fun talking off camera, and I do it all the time to my senior legal advisors to Lee Pitts Live. We're delighted to have them here in the studio. Don't forget, even though they're the senior legal advisors for Lee Pitts Live, and that's the big thing, they also, something is even bigger, they are attorneys at Bruno and Prado, one of America's great law firms right here in Southwest Florida. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Tricia and Kathy. Now, Kathy, what was that like for an intro?
I love it. Love it. Love to be
How did you like it, Trish?
Love it.
Well, we're so glad that you guys have agreed to be my legal advisor, and people can get used to seeing both of you coming in here from time to time, unraveling some of the legal things that people might need to know as it relates to your firm and some other things that may come up in the news. How about that?
Wonderful.
Okay, so everybody lock that in. I want to also tell everybody that you can watch this particular show if you go to the Lee Pitts Live TV channel on YouTube. You can watch this show and many other shows if you don't catch it all. If you want some other people to catch the show, it'll be up on YouTube. Tricia, let's start off with you. Tell us some of the different types of personal injury claims that you guys deal with.
Well, there are many different types, but most popular, of course, is motor vehicle accidents. Then you have a lot of slip and trip and falls, dog bites, wrongful death, a whole slew of things.
Okay, when something like that happens, people don't expect, because I was looking at it on television the other day where the school bus got hit by this 18-wheeler, and I saw all these people laying all out on the grass and everything. They look like, my back is bothering me, my this and that. A lot of times people think that they're faking it. Just talk about the process, though. If you get in an accident, what are some things you might want to do to help the attorney to do their job? Take pictures, videos, cameras, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can take pictures, that is wonderful, especially if you have any, you always want to take pictures in a motor vehicle accident of the cars, both cars, not just your own car, but the other person's car as well, if you can. If you have any scarring, definitely you should take a picture of that. In slip and fall cases, if you can take a picture of the area where you fell, of what you fell on, those could be very, very useful in the long run.
Now, when they get ready, we know if they call Bruno and Prado, that's one of the best law firms they can call. But how do they make a decision on who to call? How do they determine they're working with the right types of lawyers?
Well, that's an individual decision that everybody has to make. Of course, you should, come in, talk to the attorneys, meet the attorneys, see whether or not you like them, find out about their educational background and experience, those kinds of things.
What does a party have to do to be entitled to benefits and a personal injury claim? Do they have to, especially when it comes to interacting with the attorneys first, do they have to pay some money to you? And then, what's that process before to know that they're entitled to some money?
Actually, in the personal injury cases, they do not pay the attorneys up front. We operate on contingency fees, which means we only get paid, or they only have to pay us if we get a recovery for them. So unless they get a recovery, they don't owe us anything, and we foot the bills up front. It's important that they report the accidents to the insurance companies. It's very, very important to make sure they have coverage. And in the motor vehicle accidents, the PIP law just changed. That's personal injury protection, which affords up to $10,000 in medical coverage to an injured party. And it's very, very important for them to make sure that they seek treatment immediately and then continue treating. If not, they could lose rights to their PIP benefits.
Now, I would assume that if I was in a car accident and I caused the accident, that I'm not going to be able to make any claims because I'm at fault. I'm just S out of luck. Is that the case?
A lot of people think that, but no, it's not.
Really?
It's not. In Florida, we have what's called comparative negligence. So even if you are partially at fault, even sometimes when you're the major person at fault, you can still possibly recover damages. In fact, I've had a couple of cases. Now, typically, you're not looking at $10,000 recovery and you're 90% at fault. But if you have some serious injuries and the other person was partially at fault, then yes, absolutely, you can get some some recovery.
And see, that's good stuff to know, and that's why we need legal advisors on Leap His Life. All those people out there right now saying, I didn't know that. Okay, now let me take that a bit farther. Now, the claim process of getting your money, is there a certain time when you will probably get your money back, or is it a whole lot of stuff has to go with doctors and everybody trying to keep you from getting your money?
Yeah, it all depends on medical care. You know, slip and falls, and dog bites, those kind of cases, unfortunately, you have to foot the bill. But in the motor vehicle accidents, like I said, you have $10,000 in PIP coverage, and that not only pays for your medical bills, but it could also afford you 60% of your lost wages. And if you can't, people don't know this, but if you can't clean your house and you need to hire a housekeeper to come in, you can actually get that covered under your PIP as well.
Now, the amount of insurance you have on your policy, now typically, a person like myself, I get the minimum amount and so on and so forth. That's easy. I have a low premium, but down the road, if I'm in an accident, it probably would have behooved me to have a higher amount. Let's talk about those various amounts and what you recommend that people have in terms of, would that be personal injury coverage?
Well, in Florida, you're only required to have two coverages. Personal injury protection, which again affords the medical expenses and lost wages, funeral expenses, the housekeeping, those kind of things. You can also get medical payments coverage so that if you go over the $10,000, you have an extra coverage to pay for your medical bills. Or in the case of PIP also, PIP only covers 80% of your medical bills, which some people don't realize. So if you opt to elect medical payments coverage, then you can get that extra 20% not covered by PIP covered under the medical payments coverage.
And you can never get more than what your policy allows you to get?
You can elect whatever you want, so you can actually.
No, hold on, let me back up.
As far as benefits, yes.
If my injuries or whatever exceed and medical bills exceed what my insurance policy is, I can't get any more than that. So people need to know that, right?
Right, not from your own policy, and unfortunately in Florida, you don't have to have bodily injury coverage, which means even if somebody else is at fault and you have out-of-pocket medical expenses, if they don't have bodily injury coverage, then you can't get a recovery necessarily from them unless they have money.
I see.
So I always highly recommend that everybody in Florida carry what's called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage. That's coverage.
Definitely.
And you have to elect that. You won't automatically get it. So you want to tell your insurance provider that you want to have the coverage.
So we don't necessarily need to think that when we're talking to our insurance provider that they know everything or they're going to give us the best advice. We need to know some of this stuff. That's why we need to talk to people like yourself.
Absolutely, because a lot of them will just give you the bare minimum, and unless you talk to them and tell them you want that coverage, they may not offer it to you.
What are some cases that are very difficult to manage in terms of as an attorney?
Some of the more difficult ones are the slip and falls and the dog bites. You know, some people think that if they go into a store, let's say, and they slip and they fall on something on the floor, that the store is automatically liable. That's not the case. As an attorney, we have to prove that the store was negligent in allowing whatever substance is on the floor to be there long enough that they either had actual knowledge or should have had knowledge of it because it was there for a long enough period of time.
Now, I would think that, hey, if you guys don't go in front of the courts and do your whole thing, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do we find, you know, this and all that. I'm thinking, hey, well, maybe they're not representing me well. So do all cases go to the courts and you do the Perry Mason thing?
Absolutely not. It's not like TV, no. Majority of cases will actually settle out of court. In fact,
that's not necessarily a bad thing?
Oh, it's a great thing, because if you get to settle out of court, you know for certain the amount of money that you're going to get. When you go to court, you don't know what's going to happen. When you have in personal injury, it's mostly jury trials. So when you have those 6 people on the jury, you have no idea what they're going to come back with.
Okay, wow. Well, people have been sitting here seeing Kathy sitting right here. Kathy, what can we expect if we retain Bruno and Associates to represent us in a personal injury case?
Well, I can guarantee you as one of the partners that Bruno and Prado is going to do everything possible to make sure that you get the maximum results that you get the maximum allowed by law. And our staff is dedicated, and you will, when you need to talk to your lawyers are available. They'll pick up the phone, they'll talk to you. Our staff is always available, and you are our #1 priority.
Okay, so even though you guys are big time senior legal advisors and everything, when they call there, they can talk directly to one of you?
Yeah, we always ask for appointments because sometimes we're in court, sometimes we're in mediation, sometimes we're with clients, but you will always have access to us, and you'll always have access to our staff.
One of the things that Trish was talking about, I want you to elaborate on and maybe tighten it up, is how do you determine how much money a person can get in a claim?
Well, the insurance companies, the first thing you got to remember is that the primary job of an insurance company is not to pay the claim. They want to pay as little as possible. Now, the way that they start to evaluate is to look to see what are your out-of-pocket expenses, what are your damages, how much did you spend on your medical bills, how much did you lose from not being able to work. And what Tricia was talking about, the personal injury protection, which is about $10,000, that covers up to $10,000 of your medical expenses. A lot of times when they're negotiating, they take out that $10,000 because they know you already have it.
I got
So
you.
if you have a claim of, medical bills of about $12,000, that first $10,000, a lot of times they want to negotiate that out and start looking at the $2,000 and then adding on for your pain and suffering and things like that.
An attorney, should we be intimidated when we're talking to our attorneys? Like sometimes, like we might want to ask them some questions. We may feel like, oh, they're the attorney. They don't, they don't want to talk to me. Like I don't know anything about my money or anything. If we have an attorney that doesn't want to share that with us, we might want to be a little skeptical of that attorney.
As far as we're concerned, this is open door. This is your case. This is your life. This is not mine. My job is to be your mouthpiece, to be your advocate. You're paying me because I have a special type of knowledge, and I'm going to use that knowledge to help you. So you always, just like when you go to the doctor, you got to talk to your doctor and tell them everything. Same thing with your lawyers.
Those releases and all that information that we have to sign, is that necessary, and why do we have to do that?
When you are settling a personal injury case, the insurance company will always send you a release. And the purpose of the release is to basically get them off the hook. They're giving you the money now, and you're basically saying that I'm not going to file suit against you. This claim is basically resolved.
Now, how many medical bills you can get paid for while you're in treatment?
With your personal injury protection, it goes up to $10,000. But as Tricia was saying, you do have a 20% copay. If you have the additional insurance, the medical pay insurance, that will also help. Otherwise, if you don't have anything else, then you're looking at your health insurance, your regular health insurance, to help you continue on with your treatment. It could be very costly to get treatment after an accident.
So insurance, no matter how you look at it, it's a good thing to have.
Absolutely.
There's no, like you may go all these years and never have to use your insurance, but
absolutely. You need to have your health
that's not something people
insurance.
need to just.
A car, automobile insurance, health insurance, everything is very, very important because you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Now, we've been hearing a lot about insurance and how it relates to medical care, as it relates to Obamacare. And I think the former name for it is National Medical, it's not called Obamacare, but let me get away from it. They tagged it Obamacare, but universal health care, something like that. How would you see Obamacare being rolling out now, and how it plays into insurance and all of that?
Well, Obamacare, the actual federal statute is the Patient Privilege Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
And that's a statute that was passed in March 23rd, 2010 by the Congress and signed by the President in March 2010. And basically the purpose of that act right now is to help the population get health insurance, because the cost of health care is very, very high. We were just not able to, people weren't able to get the care that they needed. So they went ahead and passed this act, and that's the purpose of it, to help people get insured.
And how does that affect me as an individual as it relates to affordable health care?
Oh, well, that's a very good question. What people need to understand is that there is a provision in the act that requires you to have health insurance.
Everybody.
Everybody. Most people. There may be some people who can get out because of not enough money and some other issues, religious issues, some other things like that. But for the most part, the goal of the act is to ensure everyone. Now, the other thing about the act is that it requires, and this is what people have been hearing in the news, the individual mandate, and this is what has been sparking a lot of the political fights back and forth, is this individual mandate. By January 2014, everyone really should have insurance. The enrollment period to get insurance is from October 1st, 2013 through March 31st, 2014. By January 2014, the rest of the ACA, Affordable Care Act, comes into play, and everyone really should have insurance, or at least try to get insurance by that time. And if you don't, you may have some penalties in your taxes.
Wow. That's why we need you coming here on the show and keeping us informed. Ladies, it's been a pleasure. As the ladies have taken over Lee Pitts Live today. It's been a pleasure having you both here on the show, and we look forward to getting you back in the future, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, as the saying goes on this particular show, for those who say it can't be done, they're usually interrupted by those like Tricia and Kathy and all the fine people at Bruno and Prado who are doing it.
This portion of Lee Pitts Live is brought to you by Bruno and Prado. For marital and family law, personal injury, workers' compensation, or Social Security disability, call us or visit our website.
Congratulations to Lee Pitts Live, recipient of the NAACP Image Award.